morning. Namaskar from India, Kolkata. Uh, I'm extremely happy to welcome everybody to the International Web-Based Symposium on BIMSTEC, a vehicle for growth and development, which has been organized jointly by the Institute of Social and Cultural Studies, Kolkata, RIS, Delhi, and the Ministry of External Affairs. Uh, Let me tell you that I find BIMSTEC a very, very exciting organization. When I joined my career, somewhere back in late 90s, BIMSTEC was just about a name. In fact, it was not even BIMSTEC as we see it right now. And over the years, the importance of this organization has grown. And these kind of events that we organize and these kind of activities that we do only tell that how BIMSTEC is going to become extremely important for this region, especially the country, the littoral states around the Bay of Bengal. And especially in the situation of pandemic, this kind of activity, this kind of engagement will help us focus on the kind of challenges that we are going to face, in the future, particularly related to the economic growth, social security, and number of issues. BIMSTEC is extremely exciting to me because I think this is unique in its way, being not only a sub-regional kind of an arrangement, but at the same time, which focuses particularly on sectoral cooperation, which is very, very unique to South and Southeast Asia. At this point of time, we're looking to about 14 to 15 of these sectoral cooperations. And these, if we can get our act together, all the members come together, I believe we can have a very, very prosperous Bay of Bengal area. We already have shared goal of a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable Bay of Bengal region. And therefore, I think that this discussion that we're going to have for the next 2 days, where we will have a number of inputs coming from statesperson, from experts, and also from ex-diplomats, is going to enrich us and help set the footprint of how BIMSTEC will evolve from here on. We know we already have had the 17th ministerial meeting, which has talked about the charter, about the transport connectivity. It looks forward to the 5th summit that is going to come. So all these put together, I think we will have a very, very enriching and a very, very particularly, I think it will be path-breaking in certain features as we go along for the next 2 days. I begin with the inaugural session. We have the opening remarks by the director of ISC, Mr. Arindam Mukherjee. We have welcome remarks from Professor Sachin Tadarwadi, who's the Director General of RIS New Delhi. We have a very special address from His Excellency Mr. Tenzin Lekpal, the Secretary General of BIMSTEC, and that will be followed by the inaugural address by His Excellency Mr. Harshvardhan Shringla, who is the Foreign Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. I would request all the honorable panel speakers to please keep their talk within 15 to 20 minutes, so that everybody in this, since we are having a very technical kind of a thing, we can all share your very rich inputs. Thank you. I would now request Mr. Arindam Mukherjee to please give his opening remarks.
Namaskar. Respected His Excellency Mr. Harshvardhan Shringla, Foreign Secretary, India. His Excellency Mr. Tenzin Lekpal, Secretary General BIMSTEC. Professor Sachin Chaturvedi, Director General RIS. A very good morning and warm welcome to all of you. Today, we have assembled here to participate in a meaningful symposium on BIMSTEC, a vehicle for growth and development. Since inception, BIMSTEC has been a strategic viaduct between the regions of South and Southeast Asia, bridging not just the social and economical ideologies of their people, but also connecting the ecologies of the Great Himalaya and the Bay of Bengal. Threaded by distinct yet comparable commonalities, It brings together the neighboring countries of Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and Thailand to stand on one ground and transform their legacy as they author a new future. Extend on the pillars of rapid economic development, accelerate social progress, and collaboration on matters of common interest. As BIMSTEC completes 24 years of active continuation, it leaves behind a compelling trail of notable progress in the 14 designated priority areas for cooperation, from counterterrorism and translational crime to energy, technology, public health, or climate change. Members have come together to strategize solutions for better standing in each of these domains while analyzing them to the changing global social economic trends. India, as an integral member, has been at the forefront to collectively bind the consortium's effort and give momentum to its various initiatives. In the years gone by, conducting workshops and conferences touching aspects that move beyond the priority areas to positivity, impacting the welfare of people, training and developing members to be further ready in all work areas, and organizing the leaders retreat in 2016 to provide an active springboard to the corporation's leadership, have been some significant steps realized in said direction. The wake of the unprecedented challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, together we face a new panorama, one laden with pressing concerns of elevated poverty and unemployment, second economies, waning industries, and other environmental threats. Now more than ever, it is imperative to come together and stand in unison with one another, reaching out for possibilities never before imagined and roads never before explored. Over the years, there has been tremendous diversification of issues within the priority sectors of the cooperation. While all the sectors are important and furthering cooperation among the BIMSTEC countries, the Web Symposium this year will focus on a few select themes, including trade and connectivity, sectorial cooperation, disaster management, maritime cooperation, and coastal security, and opportunities and challenges for BIMSTEC cooperation, recognized as more pertinent given the challenging environmental and demographic landscape. Today, as we gather to commemorate yet another year to commitment to the expansion and development of our countries, let us join each other in charting a roadmap that becomes our anchor, encompassing crucial matters of social, economical, technical advancement while strengthening the future society of our nations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee. That was indeed important in identifying the kind of issues that BIMSTEC and the region faces in this pandemic kind of a backdrop. I now request Professor Sachin Chaturvediji, who is the Director General of RIS, to make his welcome remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Good morning to everyone. Honorable His Excellency Ambassador Tenzin Lekfeld, the Secretary General of BIMSTEC and a very dear friend of academics in the BIMSTEC region, a great supporter of the academic and think tank-led initiatives in the region. So thanks a lot, Excellency, for sparing your valuable time And joining us this morning, a very warm welcome to you to this symposium, which we are putting together with Arindamji and his group in Kolkata, ISCS. A very warm welcome to you for this. I'm extremely thankful to all our think tank partners. And as Excellency, you would notice, we are joined in here by all the think tanks from BIMSTEC region, and I'm thankful to each one of them for their joining in. We would be joined in by Dr. Famida Khatoon. She is Executive Director, Center for Policy Dialogue, Bangladesh. We are also joined in from Thailand by my very dear friend, Professor Surat Hockshekul. He is founding director of the India Studies Center of Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok. So Surat, a very warm welcome to you. We are also joined in here, of course, by our very dear friends from Swati, the South Asia Watch on Trade, Economics and Environment. They have been very much part of the initiatives which we have taken here, and they would be joined in by various colleagues. We would also be joined in by Tribhuvan University Central Department of Economics, and also by our friends who are contributing immensely in Myanmar. Of course, I do not count in several other institutions which are participating from India in terms of the wider coverage that we have taken in. So a very warm welcome to all our think tank partners, our research institutions, our academics who are strengthening this process of collective deliberations, as my dear friend Arindamji just now mentioned. I think, friends, colleagues, the themes that have been selected for deliberations today are extremely important. Connectivity is the bedrock for our selection, and as we go forward. Yesterday, when our Foreign Secretary, respected Shringlaji, tweeted about this event, he mentioned and re-emphasized the point of connectivity. And that I think we would be extremely glad to hear his message a little later. I think it is important for us to see how much important this whole exercise is. Later in the day, as you might have noticed, we would also be joined in by Shri Rajkumar Ranjan Singh Ji, Honorable Minister of State in the Ministry of External Affairs. And the points that are coming in are not very different from what academics and the think tank group within BIMSTEC have been deliberating upon. And the first point that I feel is extremely important and precondition for our collective development is about connectivity. Arindamji has already emphasized on the huge squeeze in our fiscal space that we are ending up with due to COVID-19 crisis. And that, friends and colleagues, is a reality. It's a reality because the revenue mobilization, resource collection has in a way declined. Of course, now it is picking up in some parts of the region. In India itself, we see now a buoyancy, and we see coming back to pre-COVID days, though pre-COVID itself was under some sort of recession. But we are trying to see how at least we reach there, and we are likely to be there. And the collective efforts would be the engine for growth and development. It would also be providing the leadership that Arindamji talked about in terms of post-COVID crisis. The IMF predictions for outlook, the World Economic Outlook report, they are very clear in terms of how the region would have 5.9% growth and 4.9% in 2022. The efforts are clear in terms of how we can actually gain after this huge lockdown that we all have suffered. And I was just talking to Surat before the event began. In Bangkok, still restrictions are on in terms of people's movement. And Singapore just today has announced participation of the South Asian countries in this process. So as IMF and others are trying to see situation unfolding, we see the region in the BIMSTEC on buoyancy. We see IMF predicting something like 7.2% growth for Bangladesh. We are expecting Bhutan to grow by 6%, Sri Lanka to come back to the economic growth of something like 5%. So on and on, you see in the region greater efforts. But as SASAC study is showing, the region would be benefited by efforts for connectivity. And I think the regional development banks are trying to make this effort of providing regional connectivity in the BIMSTEC region, trying to have this connectivity through roads, through energy, through digital and people-to-people cooperation that is needed within the BIMSTEC region. And I think it would be extremely important to move ahead with BIMSTEC master plan on transport connectivity. Honorable Secretary General is with us. He has himself been providing immense leadership at BIMSTEC through several initiatives which are strengthening people-to-people cooperation. As Ambassador Lekfeld had observed during the BIMSTEC Academic Forum, the idea is getting strengthened through several new initiatives where youth is being connected by them. There is also an effort to bring in this connectivity issue through transshipment of goods. You might have noticed from Kolkata to Agartala via Chittagram and Mongla ports, where the protocol on inland water transit and trade has already been strengthened. We also find the arrangement within BIMSTEC for vehicular movement, some effort going on. Just last week, RIS and our ASEAN India Center, my very dear friend Prabir Dey and his team launched the study on India-Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway and its extension up to Laos and Cambodia. This is something which has triggered in greater academic, but also the interest of the regional development banks to provide that support and taking the idea forward in terms of regional connectivity. And that's where we find more and more efforts which are important for us to take us to Agenda 2030, the SDGs, which the region would have to move forward to. Honorable Secretary General has time and again emphasized on BIMSTEC's collective efforts for this purpose. Friends, India has also initiated with the member countries discussions on Ayush systems and collective efforts in terms of coping up with COVID-19 crisis. RIS is also providing intellectual inputs through Forum for Indian Traditional Medicine to our Ayush department. And we are trying to strengthen new and modern scientific applications to the traditional medicine system. And this is one area where our member countries can definitely come in to reduce the cost of management of the health challenges that we have. Sustainable Development Goals and Decade of Action is one important area that we are going forward to. Friends and colleagues, before I close, let me mention two more important points. One is about the whole idea of management of our environmental crisis. And that I think as we are approaching COP26 later this week, more efforts would be on through the leaders, world leaders gathering for the Glasgow summit, and before that the G20 summit. Honorable Prime Minister of India would be there, and I think as India takes over the G20 presidency, BIMSTEC countries and our collective deliberations would help us go forward. As you might have noticed, it was in 2009 developed countries committed $100 billion for assistance, and just last week, when our Honorable Finance Minister, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, was there at the World Bank IMF meeting in Washington, it came out quite clearly that $100 billion are now being counted even for commercial loans which have been given by multilateral development banks. I think time has come when BIMSTEC countries should collectively deliberate upon financial issues and how we take collective positions on several of these issues when we meet at the global platforms. The forthcoming COP26 provides us an opportunity to see how technology and finance for the region, they are important. If Maldives is in trouble, BIMSTEC countries are not very far. We would have to see that we work collectively in terms of interest of the region, and we see how we can collectively protect our land and our waters, our oceans and our mountains. And that cycle, as we had discussed in the Nepal summit, they are interdependent. And this interdependence of the Himalayan region, of the Kanchenjunga region, with our Indian Ocean and Bay of Bengal, I think this interdependence lies in our collective deliberations. And that probably would be strengthened through meetings like this. I once again very warmly welcome all of you and join my friends from ISCS in welcoming you to this two-day dialogue. And I'm sure our recommendations would be very timely as we prepare for the Heads of the State Summit. And this, I once again join Arindamji in welcoming you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chaturvedi, for that wonderful, all-encompassing presentation. You have actually virtually covered everything that one can think of about BIMSTEC, looking at the future summits. You have almost set what are the issues that could be talked about, particularly pandemic has set into a strange situation where we look at insularity, countries looking inside. We are having a whole issues about, vaccine diplomacy. No?
Yeah, it's fine now.
Yeah, okay, all right. So as I was saying, you have said your talk has set the tone of the entire discussion that will follow, and pandemic is a situation that has now given BIMSTEC probably a kind of a backdrop from where they can actually inch forward, depending on coming closer together and bringing the act together. We have a maritime domain, we have a huge resources, a huge human resources. How we work it out is what we will discuss in the coming 2 days. Now I would request His Excellency, Mr. Tenzing Lekpal, who is the Secretary General of BIMSTEC, to please, sir, make.
Good morning, and thank you very much. His Excellency, Mr. Harshvardhan Shringla, Foreign Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, Professor Sachin, Director General, RIS India, Mr. Arindam Mukherjee, Director, Institute for Social and Cultural Studies, scholars from BIMSTEC member states, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to have the opportunity to participate in this important symposium on BIMSTEC, a vehicle for growth and development. I and my colleagues at the Secretariat would like to extend our sincere appreciation to the Institute of Social and Cultural Studies and the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, for taking this initiative to organize this important symposium. Forums like this, devoted to discussing the growth and development of BIMSTEC, indicates the commitment and concern India has as one of the founding members of BIMSTEC. While I'm happy to share the Secretariat's perspective on BIMSTEC as a vehicle for growth and development, I also look forward to the opportunity of learning from the eminent panel of speakers and academicians their thoughts and views on developing it into a vibrant regional organization. Excellency and distinguished delegates, before reporting on the recent developments, let me give a brief historical background on BIMSTEC. The idea of creating a multilateral cooperation forum and the need to connect South and Southeast Asia started in the late 1990s. In June 1997, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, and Thailand took the first step to establish what was known as BIMSTEC through the adoption of Bangkok Declaration. Later in the same year, Myanmar joined the group. In 2004, Nepal and Bhutan joined the bloc, during which the first BIMSTEC summit took place. and it was only during this summit that BIMSTEC was formally endorsed as the Bay of Bengal Initiative for multi-sectoral technical cooperation. Although a BIMSTEC framework was established and a declaration signed in 1997, there, however, did not exist a formal working structure. BIMSTEC ambassadors to Thailand or their representatives with a small working group attended meetings that were mostly hosted by Thailand. Documentation and follow-up of decisions taken during the meetings were not very well established, as BIMSTEC at that time was primarily formed to pursue project-based cooperation between the countries and operated more as a regional forum than organization. It was only much later and gradually that BIMSTEC transformed into a regional organization and began to lay down its legal framework for cooperation and build institutions. The leaders subsequently, in the second BIMSTEC summit held in New Delhi in November 2008, agreed to establish a permanent secretariat for BIMSTEC. And accordingly, in September 2014, that is 7 years ago, the organization was endowed with a permanent secretariat located in Dhaka. The BIMSTEC Secretariat, which started with the first Secretary General in 2014 with a handful of staff, has now, from this year, graduated to a Secretariat with 7 directors representing all 7 member states. BIMSTEC in the recent past has been taking bigger strides in regional cooperation and enjoying greater visibility. Substantial progress has been made after the BIMSTEC leaders retreat held at Goa in 2016 and the 4th summit held in Kathmandu in 2018. The member states have completed the negotiation of the BIMSTEC Charter, and it is expected to be signed in the coming 5th summit. In addition to the BIMSTEC Charter, 3 other legal instruments will also be signed. The BIMSTEC Convention on Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters, Memorandum of Understanding on Mutual Cooperation between diplomatic academics and training institutions of BIMSTEC member states, and the Memorandum of Association on the establishment of BIMSTEC Technology Transfer Facility in Colombo. The summit will also adopt the master plan for BIMSTEC connectivity, which has 267 projects with a worth of US $124 billion. Another significant progress that BIMSTEC made recently and worthy of being highlighted is that member states have ratified the BIMSTEC Convention on Cooperation in Combating International Terrorism, Transnational Organized Crime, and Illicit Drug Trafficking, which has entered into force on 16th March 2021. We are also happy to inform you that the agreement on trade in goods of BIMSTEC FTA has reached at a very advanced stage, and we are hopeful that it will be signed in another year or 2. Likewise, BIMSTEC countries are also negotiating and making progress on the BIMSTEC Coastal Shipping Agreement, BIMSTEC Motor Vehicle Agreement, and BIMSTEC Grid Interconnection Master Plan, and also setting up BIMSTEC Cultural Industries Observatory in Bhutan and BIMSTEC Energy Center in India. Excellency, distinguished delegates, it may be difficult to measure, but another vital role being played by BIMSTEC is that the organization is a platform to facilitate regular exchanges among the various officials of the governments of member states, which has helped in narrowing down differences and created common grounds for cooperation. Our foreign secretaries have met 21 times, foreign ministers 17 times, and our heads of states and governments met 4 times. During the last 2 years of the pandemic, when the world went through very difficult times of life and death, the governments of BIMSTEC member states cooperated, responded, and supported each other at the national level, including supply of vaccines. Excellency, distinguished delegates, our heads of states will be meeting again for the 5th time in Colombo very soon. As I said earlier, during this summit, the BIMSTEC Charter will be signed with 3 other important documents and adopt the BIMSTEC Master Plan for Transport Connectivity. The summit is also expected to reconstitute and rationalize 14 areas of cooperation into 7 sectors, where each sector will be led by a member state. This rationalization will therefore build ownership, responsibility, and accountability amongst the member states and thereby enhance progress. I believe laying these legal frameworks and having long-term master plans are key instruments and vehicles of growth and development for any organization. BIMSTEC has come of age and is beginning to play a greater role. Its sectoral plans are strategic, and institutional arrangements and MOUs are founded on strong convictions by the member states. With renewed political commitment on the 5th summit in Colombo, BIMSTEC hopes to play a more visible and strengthened role in promoting peace, prosperity, and sustainable development in the Bay of Bengal.
Not audible, Secretary General, please unmute here.
Yes, sir, you're audible now.
Sorry. To conclude, I would like to once again express my appreciation to the Institute for Social and Cultural Studies and the Ministry of External Affairs for Government of India for organizing this important symposium. Looking at the participants who will be attending this symposium, I have no doubt that the deliberations and discussions are going to be very enriching and meaningful. We at the Secretariat, despite other meetings that are going on and preparations that we have for the upcoming summit, will still take the opportunity to log in and learn from the renowned participants. With this, I wish this symposium, BIMSTEC, a vehicle for growth and development, a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for actually putting the entire canvas of BIMSTEC, how it was, how it is, and how it should be. Particularly interesting, as you mentioned, rightly, is the rationalization of the sectors, and that being led by responsible states who will take forward the agenda. In fact, during pandemic, as we are all aware, that we have had between the BIMSTEC countries a number of interactions, though we have not had summit, and it is time that we have a summit, which will be taking place, as His Excellency has mentioned. But we have also had interactions between member states, especially I can mention about the startup conclave in 2021, in January, that took place. The very important conference on combating drug trafficking for BIMSTEC countries in February 2020. And there have been a number of interactions and activities that have taken place. So BIMSTEC has been doing its bit, coming together, making things happen. And this will all, I believe, will unfold successfully in the coming the conference that will take place, the summit that will take place. Now we will hear the recorded message of His Excellency Mr. Harshvardhan Shringla, who is the Foreign Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs of India. I'm afraid he's very busy, so therefore he could not physically be present, but he sent his message, which shall be played here. Thank you.
Lekfeld, Secretary General of BIMSTEC, Excellencies and dignitaries from BIMSTEC member states, Mr. Anandam Mukherjee, Director of ISCS Kolkata, Professor Sachin Chaturvedi, Director General of RIS, distinguished guests, Namaste, good morning and warm greetings to everyone. It is my pleasure to join you today. I congratulate the organizers for inviting an impressive set of speakers and panelists for the symposium. I do hope that all participants will benefit from the exchange of ideas at this event to promote research on social and cultural issues that connect people in our region. The works published by the ISCS on diverse topics, including our country's links with Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Bhutan, are testimony to its commendable work in bringing us together. I congratulate BIMSTEC Secretary General, His Excellency Mr. Tenzing Lekfeld, for his leadership in guiding the activities of the organization in these difficult times. I would like to convey my appreciation to him for sharing his perspective on the way forward for the organization. I would like to also convey my appreciation to Mr. Samir Saran for his welcome remarks and for setting the tone for today's event. The theme of the symposium, BIMSTEC, a vehicle for growth and development, is indeed timely as our countries try to build back after the unprecedented effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on our lives, economies, and the well-being of our people. The pandemic has spared none, including BIMSTEC countries. Today's event gives us an opportunity to share our experiences and learn best practices from each other's countries in making BIMSTEC a vehicle for growth and development for all of us. BIMSTEC has added significance for the development of India's northeastern region. As a former ambassador to two important BIMSTEC countries, and having dealt with all other BIMSTEC countries in my earlier assignment in headquarters, I have both a personal commitment to and great faith in the organization's role as a vehicle for growth and development in the region. The social and cultural linkages among people in the BIMSTEC region that began over 2 millennia ago need no introduction. As Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi said in his message, on the occasion of the 24th BIMSTEC Day, the people of BIMSTEC are bound by shared history and age-old cultural and civilizational linkages. With 21.7% of the world population and a combined GDP of $3.8 trillion, BIMSTEC is a powerful engine of economic growth. During the last decade, the region has registered a compound annual growth rate of 6.1%. We should collectively strive to surpass this growth rate in the current decade. The origins of BIMSTEC and India's journey as one of its founding members have a contextual rationale. Neighborhood First and Act East, both of which are relevant for BIMSTEC, are the cornerstone of India's foreign policy. BIMSTEC is unarguably a crucial link in connecting South and Southeast Asia. As our Prime Minister has noted, BIMSTEC has emerged as a promising regional grouping to fulfill the common aspirations of its people and serve the shared interests of its member states. For a long time, BIMSTEC process was marked by a high degree of informality without an institutional structure. It received a major thrust at the BIMSTEC Outreach Summit and Leaders Retreat in India in October 2016, in which the leaders agreed to work collectively to make BIMSTEC stronger, more effective, and result-oriented. Various initiatives in the key areas of security and counter-terrorism, connectivity and trade, environment and disaster management, energy and people-to-people contacts were given an impetus, providing much greater visibility to BIMSTEC and its initiatives. BIMSTEC member states adapted to the challenges of the pandemic and continued their work virtually under the guidance of the Secretary General. As a result, commendable progress has been made in finalizing the BIMSTEC Charter, BIMSTEC Master Plan for Transport Connectivity, BIMSTEC Convention on Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters, BIMSTEC Technology Transfer Facility, cooperation between diplomatic academies, and a template of Memorandum of Association for future establishment of BIMSTEC centers or entities. We look forward to the next BIMSTEC summit to adopt these documents. BIMSTEC member states also agreed to rationalize priority areas of cooperation into 7 sectors, with each member state leading 1 sector. India has played a proactive role in building capacities of BIMSTEC member states across various sectors of regional cooperation. At the last summit in 2018 in Kathmandu, the Honorable Prime Minister of India announced several such initiatives to strengthen BIMSTEC cooperation and capacity building in different areas. I am glad to inform you that most of these initiatives have been implemented, including the hosting of the Startup Conclave, military exercises, Ministerial Conclave at the India Mobile Congress 2018, disaster management exercise, seminar on climate smart farming systems, training of diplomats in India, etc. Action is being taken on organizing a tri-services HADR exercise, youth water sports, and other initiatives in the coming months. As noted by BIMSTEC leaders, robust connectivity is an essential prerequisite for economic integration of the region with smooth cross-border movement of goods and people. The BIMSTEC Master Plan for Transport Connectivity, finalized under India's chairmanship of the expert group last year, envisages a seamless multimodal transport system across the region with efficient transit facilities to enhance the mobility of goods and people. This will stimulate intra-regional trade and investment. It identifies 264 projects requiring an investment of $126 billion over a 10-year horizon from 2018 to 2028. Projects worth $55.2 billion are already at different stages of implementation. We need to now collectively develop a strategy for financing and implementing the Transport Connectivity Master Plan. I'm happy to note that work in this direction has already begun, with the ADB conducting the first consultative workshop on financing the master plan last month. Member states have also made progress on finalizing the BIMSTEC Coastal Shipping Agreement and Motor Vehicle Agreement, which will provide the legal framework for enhanced connectivity in the region. One of the priority areas of BIMSTEC cooperation is to enhance energy cooperation and expand electricity trade through the establishment of a BIMSTEC grid interconnection. An MOU for the establishment of BIMSTEC grid interconnection was signed at the 4th BIMSTEC Summit. The power grid interconnection would enhance energy security of the region by improving diversity of sources and means of supply to each participating country. Development and prosperity can only be achieved where there is peace and security. We all know that security both within the borders and in the littoral region is crucial for our well-being. The relevance of maritime connectivity and security in BIMSTEC is doubly emphasized. Our cooperation in the security sector is therefore of special significance. Our national security advisors have met thrice since 2017. They have been working closely and have moved forward in several aspects of security cooperation, including counterterrorism, intelligence sharing, cybersecurity, coastal security, in a tangible manner. Disaster management is another important area of collaboration among BIMSTEC countries having similar geoclimatic conditions. The Bay of Bengal, which occupies 0.6% of the global ocean area, is responsible for about 4 out of 5 cyclone-related deaths in the world. In addition, our countries lie in one of the most active seismic zones in the world and are prone to earthquakes of high magnitude. The rising sea levels as a result of global warming and climate change have endangered the lives of our people in coastal areas. I'm happy to inform that the BIMSTEC Center for Weather and Climate, being hosted in India, is fully functional with state-of-the-art facilities to provide early disaster warnings. The pandemic has added a new dimension to disaster management. As a lead country for disaster management, India will be organizing a tri-services HADR exercise towards the end of this year in the backdrop of the pandemic. Tourism is one of the most adversely affected sectors of the economy due to the pandemic. In this context, collaboration in intra-regional tourism will be an important facet of post-COVID recovery. As the situation normalizes, strong emphasis shall be laid on developing the BIMSTEC brand of tourism. Next year is going to be the silver jubilee of the establishment of BIMSTEC. The occasion gives us an opportunity to reinforce our efforts in raising the level of our cooperation and economic integration. In conclusion, I wish to emphasize that India remains strongly committed to further building the momentum towards deepening of regional cooperation under the BIMSTEC framework and assiduously working towards making the organization stronger, more vibrant, more effective, and result-oriented. The participation of BIMSTEC leaders at the Indian government's swearing-in ceremony in May 2019 was a testament to the importance attached by India to BIMSTEC. I'm confident that BIMSTEC will go from strength to strength in the years to come. I'm also certain that the symposium will have a fruitful and productive discussion. I thank you very much. Namaskar.
On the behalf of the organizers, we would like to thank His Excellency Harshvardhan Shringla ji for his wonderful speech. And the big takeaway that he has emphasized is the importance of history and cultural contact. After all, we belong to this region. We are a people of a region coming together, which have been divided by borders, by territoriality, and history. But historical and cultural links, if we look around us, ladies and gentlemen, we are all linked together. At the same time, he has also underlined the importance of the security-based threats that this region has to face, has to look, and has to deal with. Undoubtedly, the Bay of Bengal region, when we will discuss, I'm sure it will be coming, is also challenged by geopolitical complications that face the region. We have to deal with it. What we cannot cure, we have to endure, and we have to deal it. So therefore, this is an extremely important issue that we have. Personally, I think BIMSTEC is not only looking at sectoral cooperation, but BIMSTEC is also trying to make its mark in the region, given the fact that there are many other extra-regional players who are very, very interested in this region. And whether we like it or not, they are going to be here, they are going to be present here. So we have to get our act together. The BIMSTEC countries have to come together and deal with the issues that will be facing the region. And therefore, very rightly, we have panels in the future that will talk about traditional and non-traditional security. And coming together will send a strong message to the other non-regional actors here as to how we can deal with our own situations and our region very rightly and in a very dynamic manner. With this, we come to the end of the inaugural session. I once again would like to thank all the inaugural speakers, including His Excellency Tenzin Lekpal, Secretary General, His Excellency Harshvardhan Shringla, Professor Sachin Chaturvedi ji, Director General RIS, for their wonderful remarks and very, very pertinent remarks that have set the tone of the deliberations that will take place today and tomorrow. I also take the opportunity to thank all the partner organizations and institutes who have come together. In fact, BIMSTEC, they have reflected the kind of network one can have of policy think tanks, the Bangladesh Institute of International Relations and Strategic Studies, the Center for Policy Dialogue Bangladesh, the East Asia Studies Center, University of Dhaka, the India Studies Center, Chulalongkorn University, and my old friend Surat, I see him sitting amongst flowers, Pathfinder, Sri Lanka, So these institutes have come together, their representatives, their scholastic inputs will come in the future, and I hope at the end of the two-day interaction, we will have a handful of suggestions and very, very vital inputs that will set the future action plan of BIMSTEC from this end at Kolkata. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining in the inaugural session.